Welcome to the Technology and Energy panel of ISH Digital 2021. I'm speaking again today with experts from the heating industry on the topic of the hybrid heat pump. What this is exactly, what the possible applications for the system are, and what contribution this technology can make to achieving the climate targets. That's today's topic. I'd like to welcome our guests. First, Barbara Kaiser, Head of the Department Heat Pumps at the Federation of German Heating Industry, the BDH. I'd also like to welcome Till Wodraschka, a member of the BDH Department Heat Pumps. Welcome to you too. Mr. Wodraschka, there are 10 companies in the BDH that manufacture hybrid heat pumps. What exactly are these? Well, the hybrid heat pump consists mainly of two components: an electrically operated heat pump unit and a condensing boiler, usually operated with gas or oil. The whole thing is managed by an energy manager, an intelligent control unit. The hybrid heat pump is designed in such a way that the heat pump part can supply the system completely on its own during the summer and the milder seasons. The condensing boiler only comes into play during the winter when really low outside temperatures call for it. Bearing in mind that the share of renewable electricity in the grid has led to strong electricity fluctuations in recent years and will continue to do so in the future, the hybrid heat pump can be used very well to compensate for this. If there's a surplus of electricity in summer, it can be converted very efficiently into heat. And in winter, when power consumption from the grid is very high and the supply via the condensing unit is low, the electricity grid can be relieved. So the system has two components. How do these two components interact with each other? How is this regulated? I mentioned the energy manager before. This brain, or intelligent control unit, knows all the components and requirements of the system, but can also receive signals from external sources, such as current electricity price information from the grid. This allows the customer to choose to operate their system either economically or ecologically via the hybrid manager. The energy manager is integrated in the hybrid heat pumps as standard. There's still one more loose end, though. We still need the signals from the power grid. The federal government needs to create ways for us to receive information on electricity price fluctuations. This means the hybrid system needs a signal about when the current electricity price is very low due to an oversupply, so that the heat pump can then go into operation. Mrs. Kaiser, the German government plans to put between 7 and 10 million electric cars on the road by 2030, and the number of heat pumps is to be increased significantly to 3 million units. As of today, we have 1 million heat pumps in the market. Where's all that green power supposed to come from, especially during the cold, dark doldrums when there's no sun and no wind? The federal government planning around climate protection presents challenges to both the market segment of buildings with heat pumps as well as electric cars in the transport sector, as far as the availability of green electricity and grid expansion are concerned. We have the green electricity to meet demand, but we also need a corresponding connected load. And this must be designed in such a way that, if necessary, both the heat pump and the electric car can be supplied at the building. The supply is then designed so that the electric heat pump supplies the building with the base load, as Mr. Wodraschka mentioned, and the fossil fuel heat generator takes over the peak load. If there's little renewable electricity from photovoltaics or wind available in the grid during the so-called cold dark doldrums, then the second heat generator is used to cover the peak load in the building. And it's clear to the BDH that in the medium term the renewable share of electricity will be used exclusively to power the heat pump. But there will also be a growing share of green liquids and green fuels in the future, in order to operate the fossil fuel heat generator CO2 neutrally as well. In the future, this will lead to the hybrid heat pump becoming a completely CO2 neutral heat generator, contributing to climate protection and grid stability. Mr. Wodraschka, let's look at this in practice. Where is the hybrid heat pump particularly suitable and where can it realize its full potential? The hybrid heat pump is clearly focused on existing buildings, in particular on residential buildings or buildings with a very high heat demand and high system temperatures. This often depends on the heat distribution network in the house. The situation in many older properties is that it is often problematic from an economic point of view to convert the overall heat distribution network to a low-temperature system. And don't forget the not inconsiderable number of protected historic buildings that we have in Germany, where insulation per se is not even possible. In our view, this is precisely where the hybrid heat pump can fulfill its potential. Mrs. Kaiser, the hybrid heat pump can be installed as a compact unit, but it can also be retrofitted in stages. Can you tell us a bit about that? We currently have 10 members in the BDH who manufacture hybrid heat pump systems as so-called compact systems, that is, an all-in-one system. They are particularly suited for use in detached or semi-detached houses and are compact units consisting of an electric heat pump, a secondary heat generator, the control unit, and usually an integrated storage tank. However, there are also bivalent heat pump systems, which are more suited to apartment buildings, that is, larger buildings, and are planned and installed individually. When it comes to incremental renovations, the hybrid heat pump is ideal. For example, if a building from the late 1990s or early 2000s has a heat generator that is still intact, and this is then supplemented with a heat pump and an intelligent control system, the system thus becomes a hybrid heat pump system. What's so attractive about this is that the existing heat distribution system, such as the radiators, pipes and the chimney, which were already in place for the fossil fuel heating, can be retained and can continue to be used for the hybrid heat pump. In the next stage of renovation, for example, when the building envelope is renovated, the building's heat load decreases and the fossil fuel heat generator can then be completely decommissioned and the heat pump would then take over the building's total heat load. 2 more points of funding. The funding body has also recognized that this type of incremental renovation is an excellent entry for buildings constructed around the 2000s, so that you can gradually move into renewable energy supply there. This means that, through the new federal subsidy program for efficient buildings, the BEG, the hybrid heat pump is subsidized as a separate measure with a 30% grant. But the other renovation stages are funded too. In July, the BEG will come into force for residential buildings, and then, if the renovation roadmap is followed over 15 years, these planned renovation measures for an existing building will receive an additional 5% subsidy. So once again, there's money from the state. And the hybrid heat pump can make an excellent contribution to increasing the rate of renovation and achieving climate neutrality by 2050. Sanierungsquote zu steigern und auch die Klimaneutralität bis 2050 zu erreichen. Mr. Wodraschka, let's look at the big picture again, the energy and heating revolution. The heat pump generally plays a central role here. What framework do policymakers need to create in order for hybrid heat pump systems to adequately enter the market? There are 2 steps to focus on. One is the introduction of flexible electricity tariffs in the grid, brought about by the growing share of renewable and decentralized electricity production in Germany. And the other is a rapid rollout of the smart meter gateway in order to quickly communicate the associated electricity price fluctuations to the devices. On top of that, we are advocating together with the BDH and the German Heat Pump Association, BWP, for continuation and expansion of the current funding instruments, because the hybrid heat pump is another excellent option for sustainably reducing the CO2 footprint, particularly in existing residential buildings. That was our program on the hybrid heat pump. Further information on this topic can be found on the BDH website or on the manufacturer's websites. Thank you for your interest, and I wish you an exciting ISH Digital 2021.